Hey guys, I'm back with more of The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. I just wanted to be a little silly for a second and tell you something. So, as you know, I have this big water bottle that I carry everywhere that's kind of like a greenish blue. And my husband has a green screen set up, which is how I'm able to do this cool background because my husband uses Zoom a lot for church and for his work. So I just discovered while I was taking a drink in between making videos that my water bottle, since it's green, it just picks up the background. So it actually can make me, this is what I find fun now, guys, now that we're quarantined. Okay. I hope that you enjoyed that little demonstration. We're going to start. We're a couple pages into chapter 14, and we met Dr. Macasey last time we read, and he was important because he kind of put William on the map. He connected him with some different interviews for newspapers and for radio, and people are starting to discover him now. So the hope is that that will be helpful to him and he'll be able to further himself a little bit more. So we're going to see what happens next. The day after the journalists came to visit, the interview finally aired on Radio 1. I was behind the house chatting with my aunt when my mother shouted, "William, quick, it's coming on." My family gathered around the radio, and I heard the announcer say, "A boy in Wambe, near Kasundu, has made electric wind." When my voice came through the speakers, my sisters began to cheer. If the radio show wasn't enough good fortune, the story in the Daily Times was published the following week with a big headline that said, "School dropout with a streak of genius." The story had a photo of me pretending to connect the wires to the battery in my room, still unable to wipe the smile from my face. That afternoon, I took the paper to the trading center to show everyone what the madman had done. "We also heard you on the radio," they said. "We're so impressed at how well you spoke." In a way, it took having those reporters come to my house to make our town finally accept my windmill. After the media coverage, the number of visitors to my house increased tenfold. Shortly after, and I'm going to pause, what did it take to get the town to finally accept his windmill? It took having these reporters come to my house to make our town finally accept my windmill. Think about that. Shortly after, I started some much needed improvements on the windmill. I realized the big mango tree behind the latrine was blocking my strongest wind and that I needed to go higher. My father, with the Daily Times story under his arm, was able to convince the manager of the tobacco estate to give me several giant poles, which I used to build a tower that was 36 feet high. Once I moved it away from the mango tree, the speed of my blades doubled, and so did the voltage. The day after the Daily Times article ran, a Malawian in Lilongwe named Soyapi Mumba brought the article to his office. So we're going to hear a bunch of other names now. A lot of it's going to be like this person told this person, who told this person, who told this person, which really kind of helps William's name take off. Named Soyapi Mumba brought the article to his office. Soyapi worked as a software engineer and coder at Baobab Health Partnership, an American charity organization that was working to computerize Malawi's healthcare system. One of Soyapi's colleagues, a tall American named Mike McKay, liked the article about my windmill so much that he wrote about me on his blog, Hacktivate. That blog entry caught the attention of Emeka Okafor, a famous Nigerian author and blogger, who is also the program director of something called TED Global Conference. And you're going to learn about TED in a minute, but if you remember, we watched a TED Talk of William before we started the book. So that's where TED comes into play. Well, Emeka wanted me to apply to be an official fellow at this conference, and for 3 weeks tried very hard to find me. So keep in mind, this person told this person who wrote about it on his blog, who told this person, and now this person wants to find the original inventor, but he doesn't have email, he doesn't have a phone, he doesn't have a phone number, he lives in this little remote village in the middle of Africa. So, how's she going to track him down? After harassing the reporters at the paper every day, he finally tracked down Dr. Macasey. In mid-December 2006, Dr. Macasey came to my home with the application and paperwork for TED. We sat down under the mango tree, and he helped me answer a list of questions, plus write a small essay about my life. When he left, I still had no idea what TED was, though I do now. It stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design, and it's an annual meeting where scientists and innovators get together and share their big ideas. So remember, it's a big conference where kind of usually they pick people who have really unique, new, maybe never seen before or heard before ideas, or who have done something really kind of outstanding. So that's what TED is, and they bring them, and then that person oftentimes gets up on stage and talks to the whole conference. I wasn't entirely sure what a conference even was or what people did at such things. The application didn't even say where it was held. I suspected Lilongwe, our capital, but I didn't know. I imagined myself walking those busy streets and seeing all sorts of people. I wondered what clothes I would need to wear, since everything I owned hung from a rope in my bedroom and was covered in red roof dust. Even still, it gave me something to think about. The following week, Dr. Makazium called to say TED had chosen me. The conference would be held in Arusha, Tanzania, an entirely different country. You'll be honored with other scientists and inventors, he said. People from all over the world will be there. Perhaps something good can come of it. Wow, Arusha? How long would that bus ride take? And what if I got hungry? I'd have to bring plenty of food, perhaps cakes and roasted maize. After all, I had no money. One important thing, he said, we should book your flight before it fills up. I'm traveling by plane? Yes, and they wish to know if you want a smoking or non-smoking room in the hotel. I'm staying at a hotel? I thought for sure I'd be sleeping in one of those guest houses where the poor people stay. Of course you're staying in a hotel, he said. And I have other good news. William, you're going back to school. After visiting my house with the reporters, Dr. Makazium approached the government about accepting me into school. He'd even taken up a collection among his colleagues to help pay for the first semester. How did his first semester get paid for? He'd even taken up a collection among his colleagues to help me pay for my first semester. So people he worked with all kind of pitched in so that he could have that. The process had taken months. Finally, the Ministry of Education had granted me permission to attend Medici Secondary, a public boarding school an hour from my home. It wasn't one of the science-based schools I'd longed to attend. The headmasters at those schools weren't willing to accept me on account of my old age and the number of years I'd been a dropout. However, the headmaster of Medici, Mr. Ronex Banda, was so moved by my story that he offered to spend the extra time with me, helping me catch up. I was terribly behind. So don't you think about that for a second. There's going to be a question about that too. You think, oh, he made so many advancements and he invented the windmill and he's doing so great, but he hasn't been to school. So as far as his math, and he knows a lot about science, but he doesn't really know the technical terms for those things. He's probably behind with reading and literature and studying English. So any schools didn't really want to accept him. Why? Because it would be a lot of work for them to help him get caught up. So they didn't want to take him in, even though he'd had this great accomplishment. While Dr. Makazium planned my trip to Arusha, I packed my things and went to school. This was the first time I'd ever lived away from home. In my suitcase, I packed a toothbrush and toothpaste, flip-flops, a blanket, and all my dirt-streaked clothes. I carried it out through the courtyard and stopped under the mango tree, where Jeffrey and my parents were waiting. I guess I'll see you soon, I told them. Work hard, my father said. I want you to know we're very proud. Jeffrey strapped my suitcase to his bicycle, and we rolled it to the truck stop. Along the way, I said goodbye to Gilbert. We don't have phones, so how will we talk? He asked. It will be difficult, I said. Maybe I can come visit you there. Oh, Gilbert, that would be great. Please do. I'll miss you, friend. For sure. A pickup soon arrived in a cloud of dust. Jeffrey waved his hand and flagged down the driver. I'll see you when school ends, he said. When you arrive, find someone with a phone and send me their number. We'll talk this way, and I'll make sure Gilbert is there. That would be good, I said. Take care of my windmill, will you? Let me know everything that happens. Sure, don't worry. I climbed aboard with the other passengers, found a sack of charcoal for a seat, and we rolled towards Kasungu. Once there, I caught a minibus down the M1 highway to the small town of Medici. The minibus dropped me at a junction on the outskirts of town where a long road led to the school. I walked a kilometer with my suitcase bouncing behind on the gravel road until I stood outside the gates. In a matter of minutes, I had a dorm room and dorm mates, meal times, and a rigorous schedule of classes. Everything was new and foreign and a little overwhelming, but it was a real pleasure to be learning in a real school. All right, so when we pick back up, we are going to learn about how Medici is different than the school where he went before. And we're going to learn about his roommate, and we're going to learn a couple other things. So hang in there. We're about one more session until we finish chapter 14, and then we'll just have chapter 15 left. Go and answer those Google Classroom questions for us. Have a great day.